It always starts with snow. Not the gentle kind that drifts softly onto rooftops and children's mittens, but the kind that falls like memory. Heavy, cold, eternal. And every December without fail, I dream the same dream. I'm standing in a field of white, the world muted as if wrapped in wool. The sky is silver, the air is still, and he is there, the man with silver eyes. In the dream, he always looks at me with a kind of grief I don't understand. But it's like something deeper or older, I'm not sure, like he's remembering something he wished he could forget. And he always speaks my name. Not my real name, Daphne, but Seraphine. A name that tastes like forgotten hymns and winter breath. And when I wake up, I always hear the echo of the same whispered phrase brushing the shell of my ear. I found you again. That morning, December 5th, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the frost crawling up my window, trying to steady my breaths. My skin was cold despite the blankets. The dream felt too vivid this time, like someone had breathed winter directly into my bones. I tried to shake it off. I tried to pretend I wasn't trembling, but when I walked into the kitchen, humming mindlessly as I waited for the kettle to boil, my humming turned into something familiar, a melody I had heard only in my dreams, and I froze. The melody lingering on my tongue, I felt like someone else had placed it there. I didn't understand. All I knew was that something had followed me out of sleep. So I went into the city around noon, hoping Christmas crowds would distract me. The air was cold and sharp. Strings of lights glowed across storefronts. People carried gifts. Children laughed. Bells chimed somewhere in the distance. But I couldn't shake it. The feeling that something was watching me. Not stalking. Not threatening. Just remembering. Yeah, the kind that feels like someone is trying to remember you but couldn't. Snowflakes landed on my eyelashes. My breath formed clouds in the air. I ducked into a small bookstore for warmth, but even surrounded by old novels and cinnamon candles, my heart continued its strange, anxious rhythm. When I stepped back outside, I collided with someone. Not hard, just a light bump, like a gentle nudge. "I'm so sorry," I began, but the words died in my throat. He stood in front of me, tall and still as a midnight prayer. Snow clung to his dark hair. His coat dripped silver under the street lamps. And his eyes. Those eyes. I knew them. I had known them long before I could make sense of the knowing. Silver. Luminous. Unreal. My mouth went dry. "Daphne," he breathed. It was not a question or memory. It was like he knew me for a long time. But then he corrected himself softly. "No, not Daphne." His voice dropped. "Seraphine." My heart slammed against my ribs. I stepped back. Who are you?" He exhaled shakily as if he'd been waiting centuries for this moment. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I keep forgetting this is your first time meeting me." The snow drifted between us in slow spirals. My pulse roared in my ears. I wanted to run. I wanted answers. I wanted to breathe. I wanted him to stop looking at me like he'd lost me before. "How do you know that name?" I managed. His eyes softened and a heartbreak flickered behind them. "You've forgotten again." A cold ripple crawled down my spine. Forgotten. Me? He hesitated. His breath formed a small cloud in the air. For a moment, he looked pained, like he was standing at the edge of saying something impossible. Instead, he asked, "Do you still hum the winter melody?" My throat closed. "How do you know about all that?" I whispered. His jaw tightened, his hands trembled at his sides. "Because I taught it to you." My breath caught. Snow swirled harder. Lights flickered. Somewhere far away, a bell chimed, and the sound curved through the air like a memory returning from a past I'd never lived. I stared at him, my heart pounding too loudly. I don't know if he noticed, but I started sweating, and that's when he took one step closer. "Please," he murmured, "don't be afraid of me." But I was. Not because I thought he would hurt me. I was afraid because some part of me, some deep, wordless part, already knew him, already trusted him, already missed him. And I didn't understand why. Before I could speak, he whispered my dream back to me, word for word. Snow, a silver sky, a field where time stands still. His voice shook. I called you Seraphine, and you asked me why I looked so sad. My knees weakened. Those were the exact words from my dream. I told you, he continued softly, that love is a kind of fool. I stared up at him, shivering despite the warmth of the holiday lights. How can you know that? I whispered. He closed his eyes just once, like my question broke something in him. Because, Seraphine, his voice trembled. I was there. The world spun. The snow slowed. The air thinned. When he opened his eyes again, he looked at me the way a man looks at a miracle he has no right to touch. My name is Calum, he said, and I found you again. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I didn't know how to. He seemed to sense it. I'll go, he murmured, stepping back. You've had enough for one day. But the way his voice cracked made something inside me ache, like watching someone walk away from their last hope. As he turned into the snow, fading into the drifting white, I felt a strange, sharp pain in my chest. A pull, a memory half remembered. The melody hummed again, not from my lips, but inside my mind, like someone whispering it directly into my thoughts. Seraphine. Until the last winter. I spun around, but Calum had already vanished. Only snow remained. Only silence. Only the echo of a promise I shouldn't have been able to remember. Snow fell harder the next day, covering the world in a soft, relentless white. I spent most of the morning pacing my apartment, replaying every detail of the encounter until my mind felt like it was filled with shards of winter light. Who was he? How did he know me? Why did his voice feel like something I'd heard in dreams too old to belong to this lifetime? By noon, I couldn't sit still anymore. Something, instinct, curiosity, destiny, pulled me outside. I wrapped myself in a scarf and stepped into the snow. I didn't know where I was going, but somehow I knew he would find me. I walked 2 blocks before I felt it again. That strange, heavy pressure at my back, like someone's breath was following the rhythm of mine. Don't turn around just yet, a familiar voice murmured. I gasped. He stepped into view from a narrow alley, moving like snow-brushed shadow, quiet, graceful, impossibly still. Calum, the stranger who wasn't a stranger. I didn't mean to frighten you, he said gently. You didn't, I whispered automatically, even though he absolutely had. His lips curved, almost sad. You always say that. Always? I asked out of curiosity. He didn't answer. Instead, he studied my face with a softness I didn't understand. You came outside today, he said. That means you remembered something. I swallowed. I remembered. The melody. His eyes softened. Music was always your language. I shivered. Calum, I don't understand any of this. How do you know me? How do I know you? He hesitated, but after a long moment he stepped closer. Walk with me, he said. It'll be easier while moving. We walked through the snow-dusted streets, Christmas lights shimmering in every window. The world felt quieter around him, like sound dared not intrude on whatever he carried within him. Finally, he spoke. I was your guardian. I stopped in my tracks. What? He turned to me, silver eyes shimmering with something much older than pain. In another life, in another existence, before I fell. My breath caught. Fell? Calum, what are you saying? He lifted his hand but stopped before touching me, as if he feared the contact would burn. There are laws, he whispered. Laws that bind those who watch over humans. We can guide, we can protect, but we cannot love. My chest tightened. The snow swirled around us like 1,000 tiny ghosts. But I did, he said. I loved you before you were meant to be loved. A cold wind cut through me. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to, he murmured. Souls recognize each other long before bodies do. I stared at him, my heart pounding hard enough to hurt. Why do I forget you every year? I whispered. his expression twisted with grief and longing tangled together. Because it's the only way to keep you alive. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? There's a cycle, he said softly. Every December your memory begins to return. Pieces, fragments, dreams. I swallowed hard. And every Christmas Eve, we find each other again. My skin prickled. Then why don't I remember you in January? Because heaven forbids it. His voice trembled. You remembering me is a sin. One that could cost you more than your life. The wind howled through the street. A nearby lamp flickered. I whispered, why does it have to be me? His answer came instantly like instinct. Because I never loved anyone else. Time seemed to splinter around us. The snow slowed. The lights dimmed. He stepped closer, his breath brushing my cheek like warm winter smoke. I fell for you, he whispered, and I have been falling ever since. My knees weakened. He steadied me with a hand on my arm, and in that moment I felt something shift inside me. Recognition, like remembering the warmth of a forgotten hand. When he saw the change in my eyes, his breath caught. You feel it, he whispered. I don't know what I feel, I whispered back. You do. His thumb brushed my sleeve. The bond always returns first. The bond? He looked away, tortured. The connection between us, the mark you carry, the promise I made. What promise? He closed his eyes as if saying it aloud was letting go of something sacred. Until the last winter. My breath froze in my chest. What does that mean? Snow drifted between us. He opened his eyes, and for the first time I saw fear in them. It means, he whispered, that this is our final chance. We walked in silence after that. The world felt different. He felt different. I felt different. Like two people trying to remember a love written in a language neither of us had spoken for centuries. When we reached the old stone bridge at the center of the city, he stopped. The river below was frozen. Lights shimmered on the ice like tiny fallen stars. This is where we always end, he said quietly. End? My voice cracked. He nodded. Every year, every winter, every life. I stepped closer, unable to stop myself. Then tell me the truth, I whispered. All of it. His breath hitched. His voice softened into something unbearably human. Seraphine, I didn't just fall in love with you. Snow drifted over his shoulders like feathered light. I fell for you so completely that heaven made me forget who I used to be. My heart stopped. He looked at me with eyes full of centuries. And somewhere in the falling, you loved me too. The wind stilled, the world held its breath, and I couldn't breathe at all, because somewhere inside me, deeper than memory, older than thought, I knew he was telling the truth. I had loved him. Once. Twice. Always. And I didn't know why that made my chest ache like someone had stitched my heart with frost. He reached toward me again slowly, but hesitantly, then let his hand fall. You're cold, he murmured. I should walk you home. But his voice trembled on the last word, as if home no longer meant a place. As if, once, it had meant him. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw silver wings folding around me. I felt an ache in my chest that didn't belong to this lifetime. I smelled snow and incense and something like starlight burning. When dawn broke, the world looked pale and bruised. The moment I stepped outside, I felt it, that same pressure behind me, heavy, watching, wrong. I spun around but saw nothing. Don't ignore your instincts, I gasped. Calum stood at the edge of the sidewalk, snow dusting his coat. His expression was tight, tense, alert in a way I hadn't seen before. You need to stop appearing like that, I breathed. Doing what? Materializing out of nowhere. A flicker of softness crossed his face. You always say that too. I froze. What's happening? I whispered. You were being followed. My stomach dropped. By who? He hesitated, the kind of hesitation that hides something too dangerous to say aloud. Not who, he murmured. What? Cold crawled up my arms. Calum. He stepped closer, his voice urgent but soft. Tell me what you felt this morning. I swallowed hard. I kept seeing something in reflections, windows, my phone screen, a shadow, a shape. His breath caught. It's getting stronger. What is? The hunter. My mouth dried. Hunter, he nodded. They send them after the fallen. A chill stabbed through me. Is it after you? His jaw tightened. It's after us. A surge of fear shot through me. Why me? He walked slowly, forcing me to move with him. Because the bond is awakening, and heaven feels it. I shook my head. Calum, this is insane. I'm just a person. No, he said softly. You're not. I stumbled to a stop. What do you mean? He turned toward me, silver eyes swirling with something like sorrow and devotion intertwined. You carry an imprint in your soul, a mark, something rare, something ancient. On my body? No, he whispered. In your blood. The air shifted around us. Darker, colder, hungrier. He stiffened. Stay close to me. Before I could react, I felt it. Pressure against the air, thick and suffocating. I turned and froze. A shape was forming at the far end of the street. Dark, boneless, wrong. It slid across the snow without touching ground, drawn toward us like a starving animal. What is that? I whispered. Calum stepped in front of me. A celestial hunter. A creature made to punish what shouldn't exist. The shadow surged forward. I gasped and stumbled, but Calum caught my hand. The moment our skin connected, the air snapped like lightning. The shadow recoiled violently, shrinking back into the snow. It's afraid of you, I whispered. No. His grip tightened. It's afraid of what you're becoming. I trembled, clinging to him. Tell me what I am. He shook his head. Not here. Tell me. He looked at me with centuries of fear and longing etched into his face. You're the reason I fell. My heart stopped. A gust of wind slammed against us. The hunter grew, stretching darkness across the street. Calum pulled me close, his voice breaking. You were my light, my forbidden, my undoing, and heaven erased that truth from your memory every lifetime. I stared at him in horror and awe, but I don't remember. You will, he whispered. You always do. The hunter screamed, a sound like shattering glass. Then it lunged. Calum's wings burst from his back with a flash of silver light, half seen, half shadow, beautiful enough to break a heart. He grabbed me, lifting me off the ground as the hunter struck the snow where I stood. Hold on, he breathed, and for the first time, I felt his heartbeat, not steady, not slow, chaotic, like something ancient and divine was tearing itself apart just to stay near me. When the world finally steadied again, we were on a rooftop overlooking the frozen river. I collapsed to my knees. Calum, what is happening to me? He knelt in front of me, cupping my face in his trembling hands. You're remembering. I don't want pieces, I whispered. I want the truth. He closed his eyes. Then he told me the memory I had lost. You loved me, he said softly. Before you were ever born, before I ever touched earth, your soul loved mine. Tears blurred my vision. Heaven forbade it. They stripped me of grace, cast me down, and when you were born mortal, they wiped your memory clean. I trembled. But the soul remembers what the mind forgets, he whispered. Every December, it starts to return. I stared at him, breath shaking. And the hunter. He comes to erase the bond all over again. I touched his hand, barely a brush. Calum, what happens if I remember everything? His voice broke. Then the cycle ends. I swallowed. Is that good? He shook his head. No, because if the cycle ends, his eyes filled with grief. So do I. Snow fell quietly around us. I touched his cheek. Not afraid anymore. I remember the melody, I whispered. His breath shattered into the cold air. Then it's already happening. The night of December 24th arrived with a sky heavy enough to collapse. Snow fell silently, blanketing the world in white. Candles glowed in windows. Choirs sang distant carols. But none of it felt warm. The air itself felt like a held breath. Calum stood inside my living room, drenched from the storm, silver eyes burning with urgency. It's tonight, he said. The last winter. Tell me what that means. He swallowed hard. If you remember everything, fully, the bond completes. He looked away, voice breaking. And fallen angels cannot survive a completed bond. My heart cracked, slow and painful. So if I remember, you die. No, he whispered. Not die. His eyes lifted to mine. Disappear. Tears stung my eyes. Then I won't remember. I won't force it. You don't have a choice, he said softly. Memory is soul, not thought, and yours has already begun waking. Lightning flashed outside. The room darkened. A cold wind slithered beneath the door. Calum stiffened. He's here. The hunter materialized like a smear of darkness crawling across the walls. I gasped, backing up, but Calum moved faster than sound, wings bursting from his back, shielding me entirely. You can't have her, he roared. The hunter's voice slithered through the air. She is remembering. She must be erased. No, Calum growled. Not again. They collided, light against shadow, snow swirling in my apartment like a miniature storm. I cried out as sparks of silver energy cracked against the walls. The hunter seized him, wrapping darkness around Calum's throat. Calum's wings flickered, weakening. Stop! I screamed. Please, stop! The hunter turned toward me, shape twisting, boneless, monstrous. She carries the forbidden memory. She must forget. I won't, I cried. I won't forget him. The hunter shrieked and lunged. Calum broke free with a roar, slamming the creature back with a burst of blinding light. He turned to me, breath ragged, wings trembling. Seraphine, he whispered. Look at me. I did. And in that moment, it happened. Memory slammed into me like a winter storm breaking open. I remembered the field of white, the first time I sang the melody, the night he confessed his forbidden love, the fall, the exile, the centuries of searching, the December cycles, the pain of forgetting, the ache of remembering, the love that never died. It all flooded back, every life, every winter, every moment. And Calum shone. Light bled from his skin, silver soft, fading. Calum, I gasped, reaching for him as my chest tore open with the weight of truth. No, please. He touched my cheek, thumb trembling. You remembered the melody, he whispered. That's enough. No, you can't disappear. This is the price, he breathed. Loving you too soon cost me my wings, his voice cracked. Loving you now costs me the rest. Calum, I choose you, I sobbed. I choose you in every lifetime. He smiled, the saddest, most beautiful smile I've ever seen. You always do. The hunter dissolved into mist, defeated by the completed bond. But Calum was fading. I clutched his coat desperately. Stay, please. I'm finally remembering. His forehead touched mine. One last breath, one last whisper. One last winter, he said. And then, you'll be free. Light burst through him, warm and cold at once, like standing inside the heart of a star. His hand slipped from mine. His wings dissolved into snowflakes. His voice echoed inside me until the last winter. And then he was gone. The room fell silent. A single silver feather drifted into my palm, warm despite the cold. I pressed it to my heart, and I cried, because I finally remembered him. And remembering meant losing him. But some loves don't end. Some loves wait. Some loves return through snow and time and dreams. And I knew somehow, somewhere, Calum was still searching for me, not with wings, not with grace, but with love too ancient to die. Love that defied heaven, love that rewrote winter, love that remembered even when erased. And I whispered into the quiet room. He knew my soul before my name. Snow drifted outside like falling feathers. Would you forgive someone for loving you too soon? Like, comment and subscribe for the next gem.